Calling the school board meeting to order. Thank you for your patience. All right, approved minutes.
Second.
Any changes, discussion?
Look good to me.
Lovely job as usual, thank you. All right. Moving on, all approved, all those in favor? Thank you. Citizen comments? Anyone would like to speak at this time? No? Okay. Presentation of school programs, FYI items, anybody?
Not right now.
You don't, don't feel pressure.
No, we're good.
All right, old business. Elementary, early childhood education update. Jess isn't here. I didn't get anything from her.
She just, she did check in with me. We have had no further meetings or discussions since the last meeting that we held.
Okay.
But we are planning to have one in the near future to continue the conversation.
Okay, great. Thank you. Family support liaison position. I went to that meeting as well as Jessica, so I can update you folks that we met with Bartlett. They are going to work, Vicky and who the other person?
Man,
No,
Jeff.
Helen? No, the other person is in the
Victoria Hill.
Victoria Hill. Okay, yeah, to the same name. Sorry, yes, okay. Are going to meet over the summer. They're going to take a day over the summer and put together their position and their plan, and then we're going to reconvene in early September to discuss that liaison position and how it affects Jackson and how we want to continue to work with Bartlett. So I'm pleased with the progress we've made on that position. So we'll have more for you on the next meeting. Tuition contract.
Just, if you go to the SU United website right now, Siri has put the SU United Study Committee pieces on there. So if you go to SU United in the district, there are presentations, there are resources on there, so feel free to click on those tabs and they'll link you to other information as well.
Maybe we should get the link from the town website too, or something like that. Something, I'll talk to Julie in the office to see if she can put a link to just the SAU website, maybe more specifically to that, so if people go on the town site, they can.
And maybe even an email letting people know it's there once it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jared. And then, Sasha, have you been attending those meetings? Because then we kind of asked.
I just went to the presentation, the last presentation on school funding, which was incredible, by the way.
Okay. Instructional issues, second reading adoption of the policies, the EHAB data governance and security. You know this a few times, so.
I make a motion to adopt policies on second reading of the EHAB, data governance security.
Second.
Everybody good with it? All right, all those in favor? Thank you. All right. Personnel actions, appointment of Gloria Brennan as long-term substitute. One FYI, she's
Is
already
that
placed.
this year? That's this
Yeah,
year.
it's the end of this year. So, motion.
No, that's
That's good. All right. Election of Joan Heisler as ESY teacher.
So,
Second.
Discussion. Approved.
Yes. Extended school year program.
Accept and resignation of Leslie Wilson.
I make a motion to accept with regret the resignation of Leslie Wilson.
So,
Favor? Thank you. Approval of summer curriculum work.
Motion to approve summer curriculum work.
second.
Those in favor? All right, business affairs. 18-19 budget status report.
Can we go back to the
Oh, sure.
summer curriculum again, just for a moment? Yeah, we had a get together, what was it, 3 years ago now, maybe, how long ago that was, is staff still content with the amount of curriculum work that we're allowing for them and all?
Can you ask me again?
Are you guys happy with the amount of curriculum work we're approving for you guys still? Like, are you looking for more
No, we haven't declined anything that they've asked for.
I'm just thinking more ahead to next year's budget if we're kind of still on target.
It seems to be meeting the needs right now, and I know the SAU was using some of the grant money to fund some of the social emotional learning pieces that we're offering as a SAU-wide, and then these names you see are just specific to us. So there are teachers beyond this amount being paid by grant from Conway to do the science curriculum, assessment pieces, things like that.
And the only reason I really asked is I know how hard teachers work in the summertime, a lot of it's uncompensated, so I just want to make sure that the work that they're doing that should be compensated for really is. So that's why I asked.
No, they all seem to feel really positive about that.
That's good. Sorry.
No, that's good. Business affairs, 18-19 budget status report. Good morning. Any questions? Do you have a question?
Do we make it? That's cool.
We're close, 3.58% left unaccounted. We have 2.5 days to get it.
Those in.
1.5.
All right. Approval of request for staff member's child to attend JGS.
So,
Second.
All those in favor? Exciting. And declare equipment surplus and authorize disposal.
Second.
Favor? That must make John happy.
Actually, I do have a question I should have asked. None of that stuff is worth like donating to kids or anything? It just gets thrown out or?
It doesn't get thrown out. It goes to a recycling center. All of the Windows 7 units, everybody is moving to Windows 10 now. Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft.
Yeah.
So as they start to struggle, we can't really update them anymore.
Yeah.
So many of them would be.
Be no use at home, except for playing video games, which is pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't encourage that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Administrators reports, Kevin?
Yeah, I just had a couple things. As we did last summer, because Gail does have some positions available to fill, and you don't have a meeting until August 19th, if I get a candidate that comes to my office for hire, because you don't have that, what I'd like to do is poll the board to see if there are any issues whatsoever, and then take the official action on August 19th. So for example, I have a candidate, I send out the information, packet, review if you have questions, blah, 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 and with your approval, then we would essentially hire the person. What we don't want to do is say, oh, by the way, you have to wait another month and a half before we elect you, you're probably going to lose that person. So
Yeah.
that's been our standard practice, so.
yeah, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, as I said earlier, on the SU9 website, there are some good information. There is what we talked about with Gail, the social emotional learning and trauma-informed schools is really important. And we'll be hosting in July some really good keynote speakers. And there's an associated cost, but it's not much. I think it's, $30 for any SU9 employee. We've opened it up to other districts as well. And that'll be at Pine Tree School. But if you know of anybody who's interested, we'd be more than happy to entertain them coming to see them.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, Sasha.
Oh, sorry. Well, I wasn't sure if it was a question, but I'm just curious, is that something the SAU is doing independently, or are you working with, I know North Country Education Services has a really great coalition working on SEL issues.
It's consistent with what's going on up at NCS as well. And this is more targeted to some of the work that's already been put into place. But Cassie Ackley and some of the other big name folks are also going to be here. So yeah, it's consistent. And it's really a bargain price. All it does is really cover the cost of the food and some of the speaker fees. So
Thank you.
that's it, really.
Yeah?
Slideshow for you folks.
Or someone sitting on the.
Are you familiar with this thing? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There we go. It's just warming up.
Shouldn't shut the lights off.
So as usual, I just wanted to quickly hit on the goals that we had set for this year and some of the things that we've done here over the course of this year. As you recall, this is the SAU 9 implementation plan that we've all been working with here in SAU 9. We are somewhere between phase 4 and 5. The yellow area talks about what the SAU is doing in terms of curriculum development and assessment. So we're working mainly with our SAU 9 counterparts in that section there. In terms of curriculum, we've started to realign our content to competencies, and some of our staff have been trained in quality performance assessments. Joan Heisler in particular was trained to be a trainer of the teachers, so that she's been working closely to implement some performance assessments to assess the newer curriculum. And then the instructional practices, we're not quite on to where students will move on when ready, but that's the vision off in the future. We are trying to do more differentiation and give students what they need, no matter where they are within their grade levels. As far as the assessment piece, as I mentioned, we're learning how to do the performance assessment and try to keep that at a high quality level where it's reliable and can be counted on to give us good information about where students are as they go along. So one of the accomplishments that we've gotten to is to finish the pavilion after 3 years. Through all the donations and support of the community and a lot of hard work on behalf of the staff members and community members. We've used a lot of volunteers. The school team here has worked really hard, devoting lots of hours beyond their regular work weekends and afternoons with the planing and the staining and all of the work that needed to be done that students couldn't do. The roof sheeting was planed. The underlayment, Old Mill Earthworks, gave us a really good deal on that. And we had hoped to have the roof on, but unfortunately the rainy spring has precluded the roofers from getting here. So they'll be here in the next week or so, providing the weather holds out. They're replacing or putting on the roof, the standing seam metal roof will be green. It'll be really quite nice when it's finished, but it's a beautiful building inside. That dedication will be tomorrow at 10:45 if you are around to join us for that. We hired, as you know, a personalized learning coordinator, and she focused on interest inventories given at the beginning of the year that she used to bring in guest speakers and to help connect kids and teachers with resources. The K-Kids program continued on Mondays, and then on Wednesday, the personalized learning coordinator, Jenny, reached out to people from the community like Sean Doucette and various teachers and librarians from other districts and different folks to come in and run 4 to 6 week sessions on a variety of topics, whether it was art or coding or robotics, a number of different topics that the students had expressed interest in. And I think our parents appreciated the childcare opportunity for having Mondays and Wednesdays where they could have their students stay right here at school, involved in some enrichment type programming for them. So that's continued to be a really well-used program. She also worked with, in the fall, we did what we call passion projects. All of the students in grades 4 to 6 picked an area or topic of study. You see in the top left, Abby Murphy picked writing and interviewed Penny Kittle and Lisa Gardner, and did a fine job with her presentation. We had some chefs from around the valley, we had yoga, and over here we did some displays that kids did on areas of the world that they were interested in. So they took a whole host of different topics and were pretty well distributed, all kinds of different things that the kids were interested in. It was a lot of fun to see the way they presented them. We've continued with the student-led conferencing at all grade levels. The K-1 this year did their first try at having the kids involved with the conference at the end of the year and sharing their work in a little portfolio with their parents. That was really adorable. And as Jen mentioned, we had our first 6th grade portfolio presentation, not just to their parents and their teacher, but myself and Kate Fournier, a board member, talking about the goals they set at the beginning of the year and the progress they've made actually since they started at Jackson. So they had some kids from kindergarten to 6th grade, some with a lesser amount of time, but all talked about how they had grown and changed over the years. They were really very nicely done and well received by the families. And this year the topic for our professional development had been to implement more focus on the work-study practices. And if you're not sure what those are, there they are. Self-direction, how do you get yourself started and keep yourself on task when it's boring, something you're not interested in, or how do you get something finished that's hard for you? Student agency is how do you become an agent for yourself in terms of learning, setting goals, and achieving what you want to achieve. Collaboration, of course, is working with others, and communication. It's how do you present what you know to other people. Do you do a PowerPoint? Do you do a poster? Do you dance, sing? However you would share that learning. And of course, the overall concept of the growth model is that everybody is able to grow and learn and change, and there's nobody that's smarter or better than anyone else. We're all just different, and we're all just trying to grow and learn while we're in school. So that was the focus, and the teachers began to incorporate some goals in their rubrics for how kids would evaluate how well did I collaborate, how well did I communicate, and begin that process of self-assessment for the youngsters. And here are some of the curriculum development work that we've done. I mentioned Joan Heisler did the year-long training. She's working with some teachers this summer who are working on assessments for their curriculum to try to help them develop really high-quality performance assessments that go to the depth of knowledge we want kids to show. It's not just a nice presentation, but how deep can you go to show your learning. We have the curriculum committees, which have continued to work. They've actually worked really well this year because we've done an SAU-wide focus with a little bit more direction from the administrative team. We're exploring a tool. 3 of our teachers will be piloting a program done by Motivus to help us track student competencies with the ultimate goal of being able to get to that piece where students move ahead when ready. We'll be able to call up a profile and see where students are within the continuum of, say, reading informational text. And Motivus is a company that's working with the SAU to design the program for us specifically, which is kind of cool. It's not just a package we're buying, but it's one that they're designing with and for us. So 3 of our folks will take part in that pilot. We had an assessment by a consultant on trauma-informed educational practices in our building, and we did really well because of our small size, but there were some areas and recommendations for growth that she included in the report. So we'll be looking at that as we move into next year as to ways where we can really strengthen our kids' social emotional wellness and how we can support them at school. And I also undertook this year on my own kind of a longitudinal data study. I've looked at 3 years, as you know, this new standalone 6 always and a 4 to 6 integration is something we've been doing a lot more of this year. And I wanted to take a look at how that was impacting student achievement. There were some general trends that I noticed. The 4th graders haven't done quite as well as I would have hoped, so we're going to look at that in more depth as to whether being in the 4 to 6 is too much independent work for them right off the bat, or some other ways of trying to figure out what's happening in that. Oops. And that's it. And just for, Jen had this letter, but just for the rest of the community, I'd like to just read what Kate wrote after her experience with the 6th graders. So I was not able to attend today's board meeting, but I'm hoping you'll pass on my appreciation and impression of the 6th grade capstone project. It was an absolute pleasure to spend Thursday at the grammar school participating in the capstone panel. I was incredibly impressed by each student and their sincere accomplishments over the last school year. Each of them brought a diverse range of strengths and interests to the table and shared openly what their last year in JGS had meant to them. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to engage with students, faculty, and parents, and it allowed me to gain a real understanding of the importance of what we provide our students in their 6th grade year here in Jackson. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to see the culmination of this important year in practice. Our 6th grade students and their families, along with Mr. Marshall and the faculty that have worked with them, have much to be proud of. Should that.
Thank you, yeah, that was awesome. But as we move forward to the beginning of next year, well, when do you have your goal setting meeting for next year? May I be flying along? The beginning of the year. So recap, that was very good. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that full circle review. Any questions?
And then the other item that I had just is more of an FYI. I haven't had any big notes because I'm not recommending any changes in the teaching assignments. Pass that down.
No big discussion this year, no big conundrum, no cake zones. We're going to go through. I like it.
It's all good.
Citizen comments?
Yes, just out of curiosity, how many staff children will be enrolled next year in our school program, and how many town students will there be? I don't know how to put that, so it doesn't sound offensive, but
There'll be 3 staff member children and 1 general tuition student.
and then
How many overall?
Oh, how many overall? I'd be guessing. I told you it's going to be around 48, 47, but I don't have an exact count. I haven't had it in
Any other comments? Board member issues? Keith?
I actually do have one thing is that I want to bring to everybody's attention, because there's not many people here today, and Gail and I actually haven't even spoken about this yet, but I was a little disappointed that none of the Jackson kids would do the speech at the middle school thing. So I don't know if is that the first year since you've been here?
Yes. Yes.
The one that was
So
back.
make your kids do it. If you're out there and your kids do the speech at the Harvard graduation, make them do it.
I don't think one was an ass.
No, the
Graduate.
seniors, the graduating seniors are always asked to come back to
Yes.
speak at the 8th grade ceremony, and none of the Jacksons.
And Bartlett all said no too, it was last minute for them too, I think, right? Both of the two were pretty much last minute.
The young woman that did speak was doing an internship in ELO here with Joan, and I came out and really looked across the hall, and I said, she's the one.
Yeah.
She's working at our school, and she's from Bartlett, so,
Kind of from Jackson.
and yeah. She's
I
from
see,
Jackson,
I think
here, but-
probably Nadia both consider themselves just
Yeah,
Jackson.
I know, but I was just more disappointed that they all said no.
How many were there?
They were only four.
It was 4 graduating seniors. from
Yeah, but
Jackson.
even Bartlett, the Salvatore was from Bartlett, she said no, if they were from Bartlett. We gotta do something to get that school spirit back.
It's a tough thing to speak to a whole room of 200 adults.
Again, Jerry?
I know.
All right, next meeting is August 19th. And we have any non-public?
What about Manifest? Did you let us know when you need stuff signed? I mean, go in the next couple months. Yeah. Because any two of us can do it, right?
Okay.
Any of us are the
Just the
five.
three of us.
Or just the three of us?
Because of the bookkeeping, basically.
We authorize.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow at the pavilion. If not, the graduation ceremony starts at 10, right, for the young ones, and then 10:45 for the pavilion. All right, I'll be.
More or less, depending on the ceremony, finishes here.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
So moved.